How's it going, everybody? Nick D Virgilio here, and we have a good video for you today. We're gonna install a Zikit Pro Kit into a Sonar AQ2 snare drum. Let's have some fun. I got two unopened boxes from the folks at Zikit here, and let's open the boxes and start from scratch. First is the Sonar snare drum. Oh yeah. Oh. Little elbow grease to get the box opened. All right, a brand new Sonar snare drum. Before I open up the Zikit box, let me quickly tell you about this snare drum. Here at Sweetwater, you can buy a pre-installed Zikit Pro Kit in this exact Sonar AQ2 snare drum. For this demonstration, they sent me the exact same snare drum to show you how it installs. But I want to let you know that the Zikit can install on any snare drum you have, metal and/or wood shell. All right, now it's time to open up the Zikit Pro Kit box. Look, they sent me a special one, Zikit Pro Kit for installation video, which is what we're doing right now. Let's see what we got. All right, let's see what we got. Everything you're gonna need to install the Zikit Pro onto your snare drum comes inside this box. So let's open up the small one inside here first. It's the Jig. Here is your handle. There's the Jig right there. And the tools you're gonna need. So the ratchet is actually screwed onto this piece of cardboard, I guess to keep it safe for shipping. So just grab your Phillips screwdriver, take the screw out, and then this ratchet will come right off. There you go, just like that. Let me quickly show you the tools that came in that little box. You get a wrench, a hex key, a drum key drill bit, the ratchet, and the jig. I might as well say this right now. You need 3 of your own tools to make this happen. A Phillips screwdriver, a drill, and your drum key. All right, let's pull the rest out of the box right now. Here we go. Trying to be dainty as possible. I don't want to mess anything up here. There's the system right there. This is what we're going to install in the snare drum. And if you need it, there's a user manual right here inside the box. Okay, the first thing you need to do is take the heads off both sides of your snare drum. Now, since they give you a drum key drill bit, let's take advantage and use the drill to take the heads off. It'll go a lot faster. Now, I think it's worth mentioning, I know this probably sounds a little bit basic here, but turn your snare drum back over so you install from the top side of the snare drum. Before we start this install, it's really important to figure out where do you want to have the ratchet to turn the rings on and off of the Zikit Pro Kit, and where you like to have your throw-off placed on your snare drum when you're sitting behind the snare. I like to have it as close to the center of my body as possible. So I'm gonna place the ratchet off to the left of the throw-off by a couple of lugs, and that's where I'm gonna put the jig. Now for the jig, you have a hook on the top and the bottom, but when it comes out of the box, the hook for the bottom is screwed up tight for shipping, so you have to loosen it up to make it wider to fit the length of the snare drum shell. There's a screw on the bottom, and just keep loosening it so you get more and more length for the bottom hook. Just like that. So I loosened the jig up so it was wide enough to fit on the shell, but what you want to do first is grab a couple of your lug screws, like this. If you have washers, take the washers off, and attach it to 2 lugs, just like that, and gently tighten it down. Just so it's holding it in place. Now, I'm gonna take this bottom screw, finger tighten it, then take the wrench that they provide, tighten that down a little bit. This kind of gets the jig held in place. Then take your Phillips screwdriver and tighten down the Phillips screw that's on the inside of the shell. There's a little black plastic piece that's at the end of the screw, and that goes up and connects and touches the inside of the drum shell. Okay, it's getting pretty snug. I'm not gonna tighten it too tight, just so it's held in place. Go back to my lug screws, give them another squeeze here, and I think we are good to go. All right, now comes the fun part, drilling a hole in your own drum. Is that fun or scary? It's a little bit scary, actually. But they make this really foolproof. There is a stopper at the end of the jig right here. When you drill through, it's gonna stop, and you can't go too far. You can't cut the hole in a weird way, even if you have a metal drum. Since you tighten the jig down onto the snare drum shell, the hole can only go straight through. There won't be any weird angles. Okay, it went through. I could see the wood piece coming through. There's a little round piece of wood that came out on the other side. The jig pulls right out. It's smooth to the touch. There's not any splinters going in my finger. Just a little bit of sawdust. We're good to go. Let's install the rest of the unit. All right, first thing is take the jig off, of course. So I'm gonna loosen the Phillips screw here. There we go. Then I'm gonna loosen this nut on the bottom. There we go. And the 2 lug screws. Take those completely out because you're going to use those when you put your rim and your head back on the snare. There you go. There's still some dust here, so make sure you clean it up, make it nice and pretty again, and we're ready to go for the rest of the install. The next thing we're going to do is install the ratchet. But I have to take it apart a little bit so I can install it. There's a little Phillips screw, the gear or cog, and there's 1 screw on the inside you want to loosen because this is going to go on the inside of the drum shell. There you go. One thing you're going to want to check out before you make the install and put the ratchet on is to make sure you're installing it the right way around. The Zikit logo is on the ratchet right here, and if you point it straight up, you'll be able to read Zikit. So that's the right way around. Take the screw you took off and tighten it down. Finger tight to start. Now, the ratchet is going to go right to left. And if you hold it straight up, the Zikit logo will be readable. Take your wrench, tighten down that screw a little bit more. It's nice and straight, we're good to go. Now we're gonna put the cog back on. I'm gonna turn the snare around, make it easier for myself since I'm right-handed. Tighten her down and you're good to go. There you go. Now when I turn the ratchet back and forth, the cog turns with the ratchet. Now I'm going to install the main unit, but the first thing you need to do is turn your snare drum upside down. So like that. Another thing you're going to want to do is to make sure that the handle, the ratchet handle, is straight up and down. And I'll show you why right now. On the main unit, at the top right here, it says handle center. So you want to have the center of the handle pointing right at this piece right here. On the other side of that stamp are the teeth that the gear, the cog, connects to, and that's what turns the 2 rings up and down. So that everything remains flat, I'm going to turn the snare around so the end of the handle is just hanging off the edge of my table right here. That way the snare shell is flat against the table. Make sure I have handle center going right over the top of the cog, the gear in there. Just set it down. Take your hex key and tighten the 4 bolts that are on the inside. Now we're going to tighten the 4 bolts. What I'm doing is just looking over the top here and just making sure it's as centered as possible before I start tightening. Take the hex key, just tighten her down. I'm tightening them all just a little bit first, and then I will tweak after that. Trying to keep it even all the way around, really. Now I'll probably tighten it a little bit more, but now I want to turn the snare drum over. Gonna take off our spacers because we don't need these anymore. Now, when I turn the ratchet, you'll see the 2 rings go up or down. One way makes the 10-inch ring go up, go back to the center, The other way makes the 12-inch ring go up. I think it's worth mentioning, and what I'm finding here is I'm tightening the unit onto the drum shell just enough, not too tight to where it's really pushing and putting a lot of pressure on the inside of the drum shell. All right, now let's put the heads back on the drum and see what we got. Both heads are back on, the snare wires are installed. I kind of quickly tuned it up just to get a close approximation of what I want it to sound like. The system is working well. Now, let's put the snare with a kick drum and a set of hi-hats, play a groove and see what we got. How cool is that? 3 distinct snare drum tones out of one drum simply by turning a lever. It was easy to install, it's fun to play, it makes this snare drum sound really cool, especially when it's nice and tight. I like that 10-inch ring that's in there. You can play drum and bassy sort of stuff, all kinds of different styles of music. Just what a cool invention this is. And there you go, everybody, the Zikit Pro Kit snare drum system. Install it in any snare drum, whether it's metal or wood shell. They give you all the tools you need to make sure you don't mess it up when you're drilling a hole through your drum. It's easy to do, and it's so much fun to hear your one drum turn into 3 drums. Before I close out this video, it's worth mentioning you can buy the Zikit Pro Kit system on its own, so you can install it in your own snare drum, again, metal or wood shell, or you can buy it pre-installed in a Sonar AQ2 snare drum, just like the one I have here. So if you want any more information about the Zikit Pro Kit system, contact your Sweetwater sales engineer, and thanks so much for watching. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Click right here for more videos just like this one, or go to sweetwater.com for all your music, instrument, and pro audio needs.